Welcome to the recruiting special here in Season 2 in the Marshall Thundering Herd Dynasty. We will take a closer look at our recruits here in Season 2's class so far and talk about what we want to build here in the future of this program. Obviously, we beat an ACC team last episode in Louisville in our home opener, but we did drop 3 of 4 to start the year. We are sitting here at 1-3. We did lose to West Virginia and Wisconsin. West Virginia we beat in Season 1. And now we're on a bye week, a much-needed bye week, before we start Sun Belt play and we start out against 4-0 Georgia State. Our offense has been okay so far. You know, our running game has definitely been tough to get going. I tried to throw in Randy Young a little bit, and he has the most carries on the team right now at 24, but only 54 yards rushing for him. But one guy I had in my Season 1's class is Brian Santana, and I've been really happy with him. I think it's just a matter of, seeing what he does well. He's only got 89 speed. He is elusive, and I do want to get him going in the passing game, which I have been. He is our third leading receiver so far. But I still need to get our other freshmen going, such as DeJuan Whitehead, who has a lot of speed. Route running, not so much right now. We're going to have to develop that, and his ceiling isn't that high in route running. So I definitely want to get the most out of him and see what we can do. Now, we have other receivers on the board, like sophomore Rashad Thomas, who has a few catches to his name this year. He's a sophomore, but he's not going to get too much better than what he is right now, which basically tells me that maybe, just maybe, we might need to go a different direction with receiver and start to actually go after and recruit true receivers instead of these athletes like Hashim Banagu, who came in as a quarterback, but he does have a limited upside with his route running, but he still does have some developing to go, and I bank on that 95 speed really being something one day. And I look at him and I think I'm going to add the red shirt after 4 games now, make sure he doesn't play that 5th game, preserve that freshman year, that extra year of eligibility, and that's what we're going to do with him. Obviously, he has the speed, but I think the skills aren't there yet, and he hasn't been able to get out on the field. Now, the big surprise so far has really been getting after the passer. I've been very impressed with this group on defense, and it's led by a lot of juniors and seniors. Payloni Franklin is the first guy. He comes off of the right edge. He has 2.5 sacks so far through 4 games, which is actually really good, just looking at last year. J.J. Hawkins is another senior on this defensive line, and we've been pretty fortunate. Interior defensive linemen, we've had seniors, and they've been very impactful, and I see J.J. Hawkins so far. We gave him some playing time, and he wasn't even penciled in as the starter to start the year, and he's been really good. Another linebacker that I've been impressed with is Jaden Yates. He has been awesome so far, just making plays. Like, I don't care if you're a high overall. If you make plays, you're going to play. So that's guys that I'm going to recruit here in this class. Guys that can play, may not necessarily play year 1. Maybe they need a redshirt year like we've seen from Hashim Banagu. But guys I can just basically depend on. And we're getting a lot of interest now with some top prospects, including some in the top 100. So we are going to eliminate the restriction of 4 stars simply because we made the playoffs. So 4 stars are now going to be looking at Marshall, and we know that we could be moving to the ACC soon. So we're definitely going to be going after some of these 4 stars. But let's start with the top player on our board. And I said I wanted to go after some true receivers. Now, he's technically an athlete, but he's listed as an actual receiver within, those athletes. Now, his name is Tracy Augustine out of Washington. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Demaryius Thomas. Good speed, good size, a good enough route runner. He makes those big-time catches. He may not have the top end speed of Demaryius, but I think he could develop into something similar to what we saw with him. Now, one thing I like about him is that he has excellent release as a freshman. He's going to come in, and I'm going to go hard after him. He's got good size, like I just mentioned, but we don't have a true outside receiver that we can depend on right now, and that's something we're missing. He's 6'4". I mean, we are in the hunt to get him. He's very, very close to committing. We just need to close it out. Now, we do need to schedule his visit, so we're going to schedule it for week 7 versus the Raging Cajun, but Boise State and Washington State are right on our heels, but he's got that A+ playing time, which kind of shows how good of a player he is. He's going to have a chance to play right away, and we do have our recruiting unlocked so that we could put 65 points on him if we really wanted to. Let's talk about maybe the guy that I really, really want on this board, and it's Mike Craig. He's a running back, a speed running back, a guy that we do not have on the roster right now, but he does commit to TCU. I was going hard after him because he had that platinum winning time. He's got 94 speed, 88 acceleration, but unfortunately we missed out on him. He ends up committing to TCU pretty early. He was a top 500 player. He was 8th in the state of Louisiana, and he was ranked 463. Now let's talk defensive backs, because we do have a really good cornerback room, but safety has really been a struggle for us. We did recruit Javon McIntyre from Pittsburgh in the portal, and then we have Dateon Smith, who just continues to make questionable plays at strong safety, even though he has good ratings. I don't know if that's the game or it's just him. So I'm going to go after a couple of safeties here. First, Nelly Owens. Now, he is more of a run stuffing safety, a run support safety, I should say. Now, he is ranked 1800, I believe. And, you know, one thing about him is that, like I said, he's going to be able to develop in this system. But I want to recruit guys that can develop and not necessarily just play year one. But we do get another local kid in Julian Watford. Now, he commits right away. He was an instant commit. He has excellent zone coverage, which is something I covet, especially with safeties, and hopefully he can make plays. Now, he will have an opportunity to start year one at free safety because of his zone coverage. He has that gold team player. He has gold, bronze, the natural. 87 speed isn't lightning fast, but he's a safety. He doesn't need to be lightning fast. 5'11", 203. His tackling is only at 64. I wish it was a bit better, but he does probably come in with normal development, and he's from Huntington, West Virginia, and he is an instant commit. So he is our first commit of this season. Now let's talk about some offensive linemen, because offensive lineman is a position that has really been a struggle for us. The first guy I want to look at is Garrison Henderson out of Owensboro, Kentucky. A guy that can probably only play tackle. His run blocking abilities aren't really there right now. He is more of a true pass blocker, but he does have 75 impact block. But like I said, I want to get some of these guys that I can develop, and I need a few offensive linemen that can be interchangeable. So I look at a pass protector out of Middleton, Wisconsin, and Lloyd Thurman. Thurman is a true pocket protector, and he is the one top 100 player I really want to go after. He has that PA shield, which is one of those abilities, and one thing I've learned is that you got to look at the abilities, and I know he's going to be really good, especially if we want to run more of a spread type of offense, especially with RPOs. That's going to be very, very valuable, especially at left tackle, because that is obviously the quarterback's blind side. And I think that he is a guy that we must go all the way in on. So we are setting the house right now. He's pretty much in 80s, mid 80s in all of his pass blocking ratings. And he is listed as a right tackle, but I see him more as a left tackle, if we're being honest. Another 4-star player we have on our board is Dwayne Gardner. Now, we have defensive ends that we went pretty hard at last offseason, but Gardner is way too skilled to not go after, to be honest with you. Like, I look at his skill set. He's got 85 block shed, I believe. It's just something you cannot pass up on. And he's got platinum the natural, which means he's not affected by weather. His play recognition is actually really high at 78 for a defensive end. And he's also got decent speed with 75. So if I add him to Kerry Cage, who we recruited last offseason, Alex Holman, who was the elite development trait guy we got in the offseason as well, and then I develop him, I think he's going to be really, really good. And we're going to find the points to put on him. So I'm actually going to remove some points from Nelly Owens. I like Nelly Owens, but not as much as I like Dwayne Gardner. So we're going to get and find some points for him. And we're going to put as many points as we can on him. We do end up at 35 at this point. And then we end up adding more to him and eventually getting to, that 40, 50 point to add to him. We only have 450 to kind of divvy around, but it's 50 more than last year. We had 400 last year. Now it's at 450. So we're moving on up. Another offensive lineman I really like is Dakota Rashid. Now, he is probably the most well-rounded offensive lineman we have on the board. He is ranked in the top 400. He's ranked at 300 exactly. And I look at him, and he is an excellent pass blocker and an excellent run blocker. I really, really like him as a guard. I would say at this moment, right guard is kind of a question mark for us. Like, we have been giving up a lot of pressure coming from that interior defensive line position. And I don't know if that's Isaac Darnold, who we recruited last year as a center, or it's our guards. So we're definitely going to be looking to improve that position for sure. And I think that maybe Rashid could be a starter day one. Let's talk about some guys that we have lost out on, though. Enrique Yancey was a good speed receiver. He was a 4-star, 93 speed, 96 acceleration, but it looks like we are going to be out on him. And then Jaden Clinton. Now, we were in on Clinton for the longest time, but our championship contender fluctuates based on how the season is going, which makes it extremely hard to recruit guys that have championship contender as their deal breaker. As you can see, ours is now at a C- after winning the championship in the Sun Belt last year and going to the college football playoff. I want to circle back to our defensive back group because I emphasize safety as a big need, but cornerback is still going to be a need. Eventually, we do have some really good cornerbacks on the roster right now. It's not the highest priority at this point. I think it's just more of safety, but I definitely still want to have a cornerback on the board, and Del Pepper is the only one right now. I want to go back to safety, though, because we found a really good one here in Dante Ingram. And I told you before that I really do emphasize zone coverage, and he's got 79 zone, only 86 speed. So we're just going to continue to recruit him. Now, we have him ranked lower on the board, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want him any less than all the other guys. Still going offensive lineman here, Jesus Behema. We put 25 points on him just in case one of those other guys falls out. But I want to talk about some offensive weapons. And I talked about needing true receivers, but how about some true tight ends? And Joseph Gardecki is the first one. Now, he is the lower ranked of the two tight ends I'm going to talk about. He is a 3-star. He's not in the top 1,000. I don't know how he's going to look athletically, though. That's the big thing. But I know that Tony Hood out of Seffner, Florida is going to be special. I look at his physical attributes, 6'5", 237, but he's got 88 acceleration, 84 catching, 77 catching traffic, 84 speed. He's got the winning time, clear-headed, and best friend abilities, which give the quarterback composure boosts when converting first downs. And I haven't been able to use that ability too much because DeJuan Whitehead does have it, but he hasn't really been a chain mover so far in his career. So I really want to look at a tight end. I really like using the tight end in offenses, and I want to start to incorporate the pistol. And I love the pistol for tight ends because obviously a lot of play action, a lot of run zone scheme, and a lot of things that can free up a tight end on maybe a block and release, or even, those seam routes as well. That's definitely a part of the offense I want to add. And it's something we don't have right now because we don't really have a skilled tight end, which is something I definitely want to add to our roster. Now, there are some other guys down on the board that we attempted to go after, but it doesn't seem like we are really going to, get them to commit. Ahmad Denson, kind of one of them. We are second on his list right now, but not putting any points on him at the moment. He is right now a guy that I'm just keeping around but not putting points on, and we'll see how that turns out. Brandon Spidell is a receiver that I've had on the board for about 5 weeks, and I just haven't put any points on him, but I've just had him on the board, and he's been actually favoring us so far, even not putting any points on him. So I'm going to eventually start to scout him and unlock him, but it seems like he's really, really interested. There are some other guys on the board like Dom Hammer, like Cox, like all of these other guys here that we're not putting points on, but I do want to keep them on the board because eventually points are going to be freed up as guys start to commit to other schools. So I'm going to advance on past our bye week and get to the Georgia State week where we start Sun Belt Conference play, and we get some amazing news. Tracy Augustine, who was so close to committing, officially does. He is going to come to Marshall, and like I said, I compare him to Demarius Thomas, 6'4". He's got good size, good speed, good catch in traffic, good spectacular catch. And I think that he's going to be an amazing outside guy. And he's the guy that I've actually been looking for, a good outside receiver who we can rely on. We update Tony Hood up to the top of our board, and I want to start upping his points now that we have some points freed up. So we are going to send the house, and we're going to actually go a little bit further than that. Social media and DM player are also going to be added, so he will have the full 65. And I talked about how important having a good tight end is going to be in this offense, and I definitely want to add some points. I do the same for Dwayne Gardner. I decide to move all of the points I had on him previously, and I'm going to send the house. So we are going to see if we can get him to commit and look at other guys across the nation. Now, one thing I do want to kind of emphasize here is our running game has been awful. So two things have really been pretty tough. The run game and protecting the quarterback. Like, those are probably the top two priorities on offense that I really want to address here with this recruiting class. If we address other things, that's great, but I definitely want to address those two. Now, I look at a couple of guys here like Trevor Acker. We're going to add him to the board and scout him and see how he looks. Now, he is out of Alabama, but he looks like after scouting, just one tick there, we end up getting at 60%. He looks okay. But then I look at Dylan Gilliam. Now, he is a top 200 player out of New Jersey. He has the downhill ability and gold mental ability for team player. I decided to scout him fully because I saw that 87 trucking and 87 carrying and 84 break tackling and 88 speed. I mean, if you look at him, his only offer is to Toledo, and it might be because he is maybe a bust. I'm not exactly sure. But if you look at him in comparison to the guys we have on our roster, he even has the armbar ability, by the way. He's only one tick slower than our fastest running back, which is Brian Santana, who's got 89 speed. So I'm going to add him to the board, and hopefully we could get a power back on this roster, and that could maybe change how our running game kind of is happening right now. So looking at the Sun Belt Conference, as we enter Sun Belt Conference play, we go up against Georgia State next episode, and we will start to, like I said, highlight recruits every week now and give you a recruiting update now that we have formally introduced you to our board. And we'll see if we end up with those top guys that we are looking at. But it starts with Georgia State here in the Sun Belt. Can we repeat here in the Sun Belt Conference, or will we run into kind of a sophomore slump, so to speak, here in our second year in this dynasty? And how about Georgia State starting out this year pretty hot, and we get the hottest team so far in the Sun Belt, and we'll see if they can continue that winning streak 4 in a row versus Marshall. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. I hope you enjoyed this recruiting special, and we are looking forward to the rest of the season here in year 2. And we'll see if Marshall can finish strong here after a pretty rough start to the season. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great day. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.
It's too easy. I've been there, done it, seen it. Boy, all that like Keenan. Still got crack, they fiendin'. Flow still hot like Phoenix. Shine so bright, I'm gleaming. This off top, I'm tweaking. Fresh out the rat like Neiman. And I'm still trying to fight my demons. Cause we all gotta act like Tina. That's why I gotta ride with the Nina. Outside, it's a war.